So, are you one of those people that spends hours creating the best piece of content you thought possible, and then you put it out to the universe and nothing but crickets, just tumbleweed? How frustrating is that? Well, today on this little Zoom interview, I have got a master at content creation. Cate Caruth, welcome to my little Zoom interview. How are you today?
Chris, I'm very well. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure. And I know today you're going to drop some real gold around how we can write words that create powerful possibilities for people. Are we okay with that? Are we going to deliver on the plan?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah, no problem at all.
All right. What did Henry Ford say? If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. You're damn right.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah. So, Cate, simple question, first of all, but probably lots of complicated answers. What is content?
Well, actually, I think I'm going to make some people very happy, Chris, because the definition, there's tons of them out there, and you look them up in the dictionary, and there's all sorts of things about the written word that's not the design and the style and all of these kinds of things, which honestly leave a lot of people none the wiser. The one that I use, which actually makes lots of people happy, is content is actually anything that can add value to your audience. So it doesn't actually have to be a written word. This is adding massive value to your audience. That's content. It might be that you don't like doing videos, so you do a podcast. Well, a podcast adds value to an audience. That's content. Yes, it can be a blog or an ebook or an article in the written word as well, but it doesn't have to be. And I think where people sometimes get a bit hung up about it is that they've got a very narrow definition and then feel, I've got to do it this way. And as you say, slave for hours trying to make something perfect, which they're not very comfortable with, and get stuck. But actually, going for a cup of coffee and having a chat adds value. And that makes it content by my book. So if you find that the best way for you to build relationships with people is to go for a coffee and have a chat, then do that. And just make sure that you're well prepared and that everything you've got to add value is with you. So it doesn't have to be slaving for hours doing something that you hate, because you always hated English at school anyway. There's other ways. There's lots of other ways that you can get out there and reach that audience and build that relationship.
Okay. So my little arrow here is a clue to what we're trying to do, which is to help businesses grow. So how does content fit in with that strategic plan of growing a business?
Well, there's a model actually that I know you're familiar with, Chris, which is the ADA model. The content sits very much at the beginning of that journey. So you can use content to raise awareness. And as I say, it can be anything. 60 seconds that you do in a networking pitch, if you go networking, is enough to add some value and to raise that awareness for an audience. Just by sharing, what challenges you're there to solve and how you can help. So it fits, it's particularly used in the marketing piece, the awareness and interest, but it can travel all the way through. And sometimes the trick that people forget, you can go to an enormous amount of work to get a client, to get a customer. And then once you've got them, forget all about them. And content for your customer is fantastically helpful as well. So what you can be doing is say, okay, well, I've got this new customer. What can I do to make them think they've made the right decision, that you stay front of mind even after they've stopped working with you, and that they come back when they've got another challenge that needs your help. And content can help there as well. Regular newsletters, for example, onboarding sequences that help people. Even instruction manuals for people if you're selling a product, something that says, we've sold you our great product. Here are 5 great ideas for how you can use it. That's going to the customer and helping them get more from the money they've spent with you. And therefore, they're much more likely to remember you and come back to you.
Okay. So this time of year, it's Christmas for anybody who's just catching up on this at a different time period. Is it a Christmas card content? Oh, as if I imagine.
I know.
We haven't planned that.
As if I imagine. Just proving it's Christmas. Just proving it's Christmas.
Is a Christmas card or is a Christmas message content for a business?
Yes. Yes, it's a really, really powerful piece of content, because you might not have been in touch with that client or customer for 9 months. You know, maybe they stopped working with you in March. Well, send them a Christmas card and say, it was great that you were part of our business this year. Thank you so much. And the words thank you go an enormously long way. It costs you nothing to say thank you, and yet it makes people feel great that you appreciated them. So a Christmas card that says, thank you so much for being part of our journey this year. We've loved working with you. You know, even if it's 9 months down the line, they'll go, oh yeah, I remember Chris. Of course, Chris was the one who helped me with my sales back in March. You know, I really could do with picking up the phone and having a chat with him.
Yeah.
So it's putting you back front of mind. And I always do with my clients. I send them my branding is very much, I use gold as my brand. I talk about transforming material into content gold. And I found through a print expert that I know, she's found someone who does gold chocolate. So I just send not great big boxes, just a couple of little gold ingots to all of the people who've been clients for me during a particular year, just saying thank you very much for being part of it. And it's really, they remember it, they appreciate it, and it's a fantastic bit of content. So anything like that, it does not need to be complicated at all.
So if you like chocolate, you should go and work with Cate,
Yeah.
and you get chocolate.
Work with me, you get chocolate at Christmas. Yeah.
Okay, what about the business that's on the growth curve, and they're beginning to get really, really busy? Where does they get challenged, or what are the hurdles that they have to come across with this constant desire to create content where they're busy doing so much stuff?
I always say that the most important thing with content comes down to 3 words: consistency. Consistency is the most important thing with content, and we've all done it. We've all seen this situation. You go to a website, you're thinking of, let's say you're thinking of working with a florist, and you go to their website and there's some nice floral decorations there, and you think, yeah, okay, I like their style. And you're checking out the website and you go and have a look at their blog. And there's 2 blogs, and they're both dated July 2018. And I don't know why, but it's always July 2018. Something happened in July 2018 that made a huge number of people write a couple of blogs. But that's it. No more blogs. And when you look at that, you look and you think, well, either this is a business that doesn't finish what it starts, or rather more worryingly, oh, it doesn't look like they're actually still in business. I'll go somewhere else. So consistency is very important. And it means that it's really important as a business that you put together a plan that you can remain consistent with. So it's better to do 1 blog a month than to do 1 blog a week and then find that you haven't got the time for it, or you're stuck for ideas. So that's the thing that I say is most important. And there is a big myth about content that every piece has to be unique and different. And in fact, repurposing is a really powerful tool for your kit bag. So write a blog, turn it into 5 or 6 social media posts that draw people back to the blog. Turn the blog into a video. Turn the video into a podcast. Take 5 or 6 blogs on a topic, turn them into an ebook. And that takes a massive amount of the burden off. But because people interact with it differently, some people like to read a blog on their phone, some people like to listen to a podcast, some people like watching videos, then they will interact with it in different ways. And that means that you're extending the audience who are going to connect with you on that content and reach out to you because they're finding it easier to actually connect with you and see what you're doing.
All right. And when we were talking originally, we talked about spending those hours on content. Let's just say that I agree to myself that I'm actually pretty pants at content and I want to work with a third party to create the content for me. What advice would you give me when deciding who I should work with as my third party content deliverable partner?
So I always say that all content is a conversation. And that means that if you're looking for someone else to take care of your content, it needs to start with that conversation with them. You need to talk to them, come prepared with who your ideal client is, in other words, who your audience is, who you want that content to talk to, and be really clear about that. I mean, if someone gets on a call with me, the first question I ask them is, so who is your audience? Who are we doing this for? And if they don't know, I will often say, well, I have to say, you're not ready. You need to actually figure out who that ideal client is. So know who they are, first of all, and also know what they perceive as value. Because if you've got a good sense of, okay, so let's say you're I don't know, you do printed t-shirts, and you want to appeal to the mums of a football squad who are buying the t-shirts for the kid. So it's the mum who does the buying, and therefore you actually need to appeal to mum, not the kid who's got to wear it. But at the same time, the kid's got to look and not go, oh, mum, don't make me wear that. So there's a balance point. But mum's priorities are things like, how well will it wear? If I put it through the washing machine, is the entire wash going to go green? And therefore, what you then do is you write a set of content about choosing the right t-shirts for your football squad. And you're touching on, if you choose range A, these are, long wearing, durable t-shirts. They're all colour fast. You can wash them at 40 degrees with the rest of the wash. And you're talking about it in that sense. So you're adding value in that content just by explaining to mum that this is the right product for her.
Okay.
Whereas if you're buying a football shirt for style and fashion that, someone might pay a bit more for, but doesn't mind dry cleaning it, that's a different audience, and it's a different message.
All right. Love that analogy. If we are having our Christmas break and we're all coming back to the new year and you've had this epiphany over Christmas dinner, I'm going to create amazing content. I'm going to be the new Lewis Howes of the podcasting world. Where would you suggest somebody should start with a content plan that is going to be consistent and they can follow through on and carry on doing time after time for the next journey on their business growth?
So work out, first of all, how much time you've got available. And then, if you're talking about something like a podcast, if you want to do a 30-minute podcast, you've got to record, you've got to prepare it, you've got to record it, you've got to edit it, and then obviously you've got to promote it. So there's 4 elements to doing that. And actually any content kind of has that same pattern to it. So there's the plan, there's the create, there's the edit, and there's the publish, if you like. Even a book follows that pattern. The actual creation, I always say, is between 20 and 30% of your time. So if you want a 30-minute podcast, and that's 30% of your time, 25 to 30% of your time, you need 2 hours for every podcast. Every week now, or every month. And yes, exactly. If you want to do a weekly podcast, that's 2 hours a week.
Yes.
But that allows you to then say, oh, I haven't got 2 hours a week, but I can manage 2 hours a fortnight. Great, do a fortnightly podcast. Yeah. Perfect. So understanding that the actual doing is not the only thing you have to think about. And then you can fit it with the time you've got available. And this is why I say it's more important to say, okay, well, I've got the time to do 1 monthly blog and 1 monthly live video, because I know I've got the time and the capacity to do that consistently every single month. That's better than starting in January with I'm going to do a podcast every week and a video every week and 3 blogs a month, and then suddenly in February thinking I'm exhausted. And when am I going to actually do any work? Because for most people, other than for me, the writing of content isn't generating you the money. It's the marketing that leads you to the customer. So just understanding the time that it takes. But then also, once you've figured that out, know the value of your own time. And the analogy I always use with this is a cleaner. So it takes me about 2 hours to clean my house. I hate doing it. I'm not very good at it. And if I'm using that 2 hours on my business, I'm earning 4 times as much as if I'm paying for a cleaner. So I know that it's economic sense to have a cleaner come in for 2 hours a week, every week. She likes it. She does a much better job than I would do. My house looks beautiful. And at the same time, I'm generating income in my business. And it's the same in content. So if you want to do a podcast and you know that the value of your time working on your business is 2, 3, 4 times that of paying for someone to edit your podcast, then pay someone to edit your podcast. They'll edit it, they'll load it onto the system, they'll publish it, they'll get it out there for you. You know, just understanding the value of your own time.
Yeah.
Just really helps with understanding where you outsource. I mean, that applies for any outsourcing, but it obviously applies for content particularly.
Yeah.
That you can then see these are the places where I can outsource.
Yeah, I'll often say to my clients, the sentence is who, not how, because they say, oh, I haven't got time, and how am I going to do this? And I say, well, who, not how. Who can help you do this, or who's been there before, or who's ahead of you that you can learn from. Okay. Final question before we share your contact details. Crystal ball. I know I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit. 2022. Oh, okay. Crystal ball. Where do you think the best outlets for content are going to be in the next sort of 12 months or so that you would advocate? Yes, starting. Yes, you've got the time available. Where should we be hanging out to get the best return on our time and investment?
Oh, there's some very interesting stuff coming out. Podcasts have been around for quite some time, but there is a really nice and interesting product that's come onto the market called Hello Audio. And what Hello Audio allows you to do is to make your podcast chargeable. So you're putting it behind a paywall. And that's going to be a really interesting extension to that market. Because what you can do, for example, is you can do a podcast and take the short version and make that free. And then say, if you want to listen to the rest of this, sign up to our Hello Audio account. And then you can get the whole of the audio product available. So that's very interesting. Clubhouse has been massively on the rise this year. It was the hot new child on the market sort of this time last year. It's now much more of a stable platform. It's now part of the landscape. But what we're now seeing is that rather than what we had to begin with, which was lots of very, very excited people doing lots and lots of different things, it's becoming a much more stable environment. A really great place for coaches, for anyone who talks and engages as part of their business. I do a Clubhouse room, for example, on a Sunday talking about writing of books. And just bringing people together. It's a new great way of building a community, and it's building it all the way around the world. So networking had traditionally been face-to-face. It's now in the last 2 years become online, but it's still very much within its own geography. Clubhouse is breaking those barriers. Okay. And I've been seeing, meeting people all around the world through Clubhouse, and that's another really interesting place. So that's worth a look for any business owner where having that community is a part of their sort of their marketing strategy.
Yeah, interesting. So if you're somebody spending an awful lot of time on free digital assets, and if you want to monetize your digital assets, then Hello Audio sounds like a place to go. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions that I'll let you to think about as your sort of non-negotiables of life with regard to content writing. I'll let you think about that. And while you think about that, these are Cate's details for you to go and find her. So she is the founder of Creative Words. If you're watching this on YouTube, for those on the podcast, her email is info@creativewords.cc. The website is the same, creativewords.cc. And if you look for her on LinkedIn, you'll find her at Cate-Caruth, C-A-R-U-T-H. All right. So your non-negotiables, Cate, with regard to content, your 3 cardinal sins that you think, please do not do these 3 things with regard to your content.
So I'm going to come up with 3. Okay.
Well, right. Number 1.
Okay. Well, let's start with number 1. This is the one that people do most often. I'm going to pick on ones. I'll do ones for website because most people have a website, and it is a really key thing. So I can at least come up with 2 very, very simply. So number 1. The number 1 cardinal sin is to we all over the place on your website. So if on your homepage, the first word is we or I, you're talking about you, not to your audience. Yes. Yeah, exactly that, Chris. Exactly that. Don't we all over the place. Your homepage needs to start by talking about the problem that brought someone to your website in the first place. So your website, Chris, and I haven't checked it, I have to say, ought to start with something like, do you find sales frightens you? Because and a question's really powerful, because of course what that allows someone to do is say yes. And if they say no, well, they're not your target audience anyway, so they can, they can leave straight away, great. But if they say yes, and then you can say, do you feel this? Do you find that? And only then say, with Adamo, we help people solve those problems. So that's cardinal sin number one. Cardinal sin number two, and this one is particularly for trades, because we see it there most often. If you are particularly a tradesperson, but in any business, do not use a photo of your van unless you sell vans. Every plumbing website, every electrician's website, every carpenter's website has a picture of their van. And I don't know why, because all that says to your target audience is, I'm going to park outside your house with a van. So that's cardinal sin number two. Cardinal sin number three is neglecting your about pages. It is the second most visited page on your website. Once people have seen your homepage and they can see what you do, they're more likely to check out and go to repeatedly your about page, because people make their buying decisions 87% of the time, I think this is the statistic, on the values of who you are, not actually the product, because they can usually find the product somewhere else as well, but it's the values that they align to. And what happens is when you set up your website, you write your about page and then you forget it. And then when someone comes back, it talks about how you set up the business in 2014 and in 2017 took on your first member of staff. And then it just falls off the edge of a cliff because you've forgotten to update it. So that's sort of cardinal sin number three, is not checking particularly your about page, but actually all of your website at least every 6 months, and just saying, is it still relevant? Does it still say the same thing? Have we got team members who no longer work for us? Just making sure that all of that is kept up to date and still relevant to your target audience.
I can feel lots of people sending emails to their marketing team going, stop weeing all over our bloody website.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Kate. It's been a fascinating conversation. I have really enjoyed this. If you've got difficulty with your content, I know Kate's a master at creating really compelling words that resonate and create powerful conversations with people. For me today, it's Chris checking out. Please remember, find, convert, keep clients like a habit, and have a wonderful Christmas if you are here at that time of year. Be safe and have a lovely weekend if you're just about to enter into that. Thank you.